the Hollywood Unapologetic Podcast with Orlando Delbert, Filmmaking Essentials.
This is actually one of a series we're doing on the democratization of filmmaking that's happening right now.
Yeah, and today, to a really interesting intersection point.
We are. It's where the cutting-edge research into artificial general intelligence, AGI, meets the rapidly transforming world of the film industry.
It sounds like two totally different things,
right?
But wait till you see the connections.
Exactly. We've gathered quite a range of sources for you. There's a detailed survey of AGI projects, some analysis of how film gets made and funded, both nonprofit and for-profit.
Updates on companies like OpenAI, a look at the maybe surprising financial lives of directors.
Yeah, and a ground-level view from Reddit on Hollywood's changes, plus explorations of tech's impact, and even some, practical advice for indie filmmakers on the business side.
And what's fascinating here, I think, is how these seemingly separate worlds, the high-stakes realm of advanced AI development and the creative hustle of filmmaking, they're actually starting to show some, intriguing parallels.
Especially when you look at the motivations behind it all.
Right. Especially the motivations and the paths these industries are taking. So our mission is to really explore that convergence for you.
We want to look specifically at the direct implications of more companies adopting a for-profit model, how that might sway AGI development.
How it connects to the ongoing democratization of filmmaking and the rise of this more entrepreneurial new Hollywood generation.
Okay, so to get started, maybe let's get a handle on the AGI landscape first.
Good idea.
For those who haven't encountered it before, AGI, artificial general intelligence, it's essentially AI with the kind of broad reasoning and problem-solving abilities that humans have.
Yeah, it's quite different from the AI we see every day in our apps. The stuff designed for very specific tasks. Narrow AI.
Right. And as our survey source points out, the potential here is just enormous. It ranges from tackling massive global challenges to scenarios we often see in sci-fi, frankly. Both good and maybe not so good.
Exactly. That potential is huge. And the 2020 survey of artificial general intelligence projects for ethics, risk, and policy gives a really insightful look at who's doing this research and, crucially, why.
What did they find?
Well, one key observation comparing their 2017 and 2020 findings was this increase, a noticeable increase, in small to medium-sized private companies getting involved in AGI R&D.
Okay, so not just universities or massive tech giants.
Not just them, no. And interestingly, many of these newer companies state humanitarian goals. They talk about commercializing AGI, making it available for practical uses, but often without explicitly saying that their core driver is profit.
That's a crucial distinction. They contrast this with academic projects, right? Which tend to get funding from places like DARPA and are maybe more focused on just expanding knowledge.
Precisely. It suggests a potential shift, maybe, in motivations. These newer corporate players seem to be aiming to create AI that can be used, applied, maybe for good, but definitely with an eye towards sustainability. And, sustainability often implies a revenue model down the line.
Right, it has to pay for itself somehow.
Exactly. And the survey makes another really important observation here. They note a large increase in the number of corporate projects, which are often motivated by profit, even if they do not explicitly say that their goal is to generate profit.
Okay, so the profit motive is growing, even if it's sort of under the surface.
It seems so. And this subtle but significant trend, this growing influence of profit in AGI research, even unstated, that starts to echo what we're seeing elsewhere.
Like in the film industry, perhaps. We'll get there. But first, what about the global picture for AGI? Is it concentrated somewhere?
It's really global. The survey highlights projects in 23 countries, with some kind of presence in 37. If you look at their map, Figure 4, the US, China, and the UK seem to be leading in originating projects. But then you have places like Germany and Israel, which are big tech hubs, actively involved through partnerships, even if they don't have as many led projects themselves. It's a very interconnected network.
And open source code plays a big role in that connection, doesn't it?
Absolutely vital. The fact that many AGI projects use open source code means advancements can be shared and built upon across borders. It likely involves even more countries indirectly than just the ones listed as hosting projects.
Makes sense. What about the stated goals? You mentioned humanitarian aims, but what else?
Yeah, looking at Figure 5 in the survey, humanitarian and intellectual goals are definitely the most frequently mentioned. Profit, transhumanist ideas, focusing on ecological well-being, animal welfare, those appear less often as the primary drivers.
But some projects might have multiple goals.
Oh, for sure. Some big ones like the Human Brain Project or Singularity Net, they list multiple goals. It reflects how complex and multifaceted these undertakings are.
And the big question, what about safety? How seriously are these projects taking the potential risks?
That's a bit concerning, actually. The survey found they could only figure out a clear stance on safety for about half the projects they looked at.
Only half. Wow.
Yeah. And among those where they could tell, there was a real spectrum. Some were actively prioritizing safety, others took more moderate stance, and some were even kind of dismissive about it. You see that in Figure 6, the pie chart.
The variability doesn't sound great, especially as the tech gets more powerful.
No, it raises some pretty important questions. So, okay, that's the AGI landscape. Complex, global, increasingly commercial, with varying attention to safety.
Right. Now let's pivot to that other creative industry we mentioned, film. Are we seeing similar shifts there, different pressures?
Well, let's look. Traditionally, you think of film profit coming from, ticket sales at the cinema.
Box office, yeah.
But our source on nonprofit versus for-profit film points out that today's Hollywood revenue streams are way more diverse. It goes far beyond just the box office numbers.
Okay. And alongside the big studios, we're also seeing this explosion, almost, in nonprofit film organizations. The source called it exponential.
Yeah, a huge increase. And these are groups set up specifically with missions other than making money.
Like supporting independent artists.
Exactly. Or education, community work through film, using film as a voice for change. Lots of different goals, but profit isn't the main one.
But it's important to clarify, right? Independent film doesn't automatically mean nonprofit.
Not at all. Indie films can absolutely be commercial projects trying to make money. But the growth of the nonprofit sector definitely highlights this kind of divergence in motivations within the film world itself.
Yeah.
Different forces at play.
And that brings up that potential conflict, doesn't it, between creativity and the pressure to make a profit in mainstream Hollywood.
One source mentions concerns about, say, screenwriting becoming too standardized, trying to maximize profit by following formulas.
Which could end up stifling really original creative work, less risk-taking if you're just chasing guaranteed returns.
Yeah, that's the fear. And that's where you see interest in alternative models, like B corporations, companies that try to balance profit with social and environmental good, a kind of middle ground.
Okay. But for many individuals in the industry, the reality seems pretty tough financially. We saw that UK survey of film directors.
Yeah, that was quite stark. A high percentage reported unstable income, doing unpaid creative work just to get projects going.
And the money they get later, the residuals, is decreasing in the digital age.
Exactly. Residuals from streaming and online use are often much lower than traditional broadcast or DVD sales. It really paints a picture of financial precarity for many creators, even established ones.
And you can feel that sense of change bubbling up in places like Reddit, too. We looked at a discussion there about Hollywood evolving.
Oh, yeah. People there were talking about the clear decline of traditional TV watching, everyone moving to internet streaming.
Which logically leads to concerns about fewer traditional jobs in film and TV.
It's a big worry. But interestingly, there was also this feeling in the thread that, good movies and shows will still get made. They'll find an audience.
Just maybe. Differently. More independently.
Perhaps. Which feeds right into this idea of a new Hollywood generation needing to be more entrepreneurial. They can't just wait by the phone.
And that Reddit thread even touched on AI and photorealistic animation potentially becoming a major production methods in the future.
See? It all loops back.
Yeah.
Which brings us nicely to the whole concept of the democratization of filmmaking.
Right, which basically means making the whole process more accessible, opening it up to more people, more storytellers.
Usually through cheaper, more innovative tools and tech.
And AI is a huge part of that story now, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Our sources show AI popping up all across the filmmaking workflow, helping with script ideas. Remember that AI called Benjamin that wrote the short film Sunspring?
I do. Weird film, but fascinating experiment.
Totally. And AI is also automating tasks in post-production, making things potentially faster and cheaper.
Lowering those barriers to entry.
Exactly. And the SAE blog piece really hammers this home, too.
Yeah.
Just how much more accessible and affordable the technology for film production has become. Stuff that only big studios had before. Now, indie creators can get their hands on it.
Okay, so this directly empowers that new Hollywood generation we mentioned. Lower barriers, new tools. They can be more entrepreneurial.
They almost have to be.
They can maybe bypass some of the old gatekeepers.
That's the potential, yeah. But as our guide for indie filmmakers stresses, just having the creative chops isn't enough anymore.
You need the business skills, too.
You absolutely need to understand the business side to build a sustainable career. It's not optional, really.
But the guide makes the point, it's not about selling out your art, is it?
Not at all. It's about recognizing that understanding the business actually helps you achieve your artistic vision. It helps you navigate the industry, find funding, connect with your audience, and actually make a living doing what you love.
So it's about empowerment through knowledge.
Precisely. Continuous learning about the craft, yes, but also about the business.
Yeah.
And interestingly, that source even suggests looking outside the film industry for business ideas.
Yeah.
Learn from other entrepreneurs.
Don't just wait to be discovered.
Exactly. Take control of your own destiny. That's the core message.
Okay, wow. So let's try and pull these threads together. We've got this rising, sometimes hidden profit motive in AGI research. And we've got the film industry, which has always had this tension between art and commerce, but is also undergoing huge structural shifts and seeing this rise in independent entrepreneurial creation.
Right. Two parallel trends, both involving technology and shifting business models.
So what are the direct implications when these things collide, particularly this for-profit aspect?
Well, it seems logical that these parallel trends would have some pretty significant consequences for how AGI gets developed and applied in creative fields like filmmaking.
It definitely raises questions for you, the listener, to think about. Like, will the pursuit of profit in AGI push the development of tools that really help filmmakers?
Or will it just prioritize the most commercially obvious applications, maybe overlooking more artistically interesting uses, or even raising new ethical flags about creative labor?
And how might that profit-driven standardization we sometimes see in Hollywood, the formulas, how might that influence the design of the very AGI tools filmmakers might end up using? Will the tools push towards standardization too?
That's a great question. What about the filmmakers themselves? Will these AI tools empower individuals, give them more control, more freedom?
Or could they end up concentrating even more power in the hands of the big, profit-driven corporations who can afford to develop and deploy the most advanced AI at scale?
It really feels like we're at a crossroads. Whose interests will ultimately be served here? The indie creator, the big studio, the audience. It's complex.
Okay, so just to recap, we've uncovered some really compelling links. We see parallel trends, this increasing commercial focus in both AGI research and the film industry.
We see technology, especially AI, acting as this huge catalyst for the democratization of filmmaking, making the tools cheaper and more accessible.
And that, in turn, is fueling the rise of a more entrepreneurial, new Hollywood generation filmmakers who need both creative and business skills to navigate this new landscape.
And it's just crucial to grasp that this democratization isn't just about getting cheaper cameras. It's deeply tied to the economic forces shaping both film and tech, like AGI, which are themselves being steered by market demands and these for-profit motives.
Right. So here's that final thought we want to leave you with. As AGI and the filmmaking world keep evolving at this incredible pace, how can individual creators make sure that this democratization really does empower diverse voices? How does it foster genuine artistic innovation?
Yeah, how do we prevent it from just becoming another way to standardize content for profit? What role will ethics, and maybe looking beyond pure profit, play in shaping the future of both AI and the stories we tell?
Definitely something to keep thinking about. Consider the long-term implications, maybe explore those ethical frameworks around AGI, and watch how these business models and creative fields continue to shift.
You can find more insights on navigating the entertainment industry and achieving success in Orlando Delbert's work, including his book, Pollyanna's Tear-Soaked Battlefields of Hollywood, a survival guide against the cynicism and the hypocritical, and of course, the Hollywood Unapologetic platform. And always remember, you are the key to your own success. You are the new Hollywood generation.
Be informed, be prepared, and most importantly, be great.
That's it. Be great. Good luck out there.
See you next time.